let's talk about Romo. What happens when Dallas releases him as expected on Thursday?
Well, if I were in the league and I was working for the Houston Texans, I would get Bob McNair's private plane and I would fly to Dallas and I would sit down with him and say, look, we have a really good football team and we have some really good young talent on offense. We need to fix our offensive line. You are the missing link to our team to get us over the top. We could beat New England if you were on the field. You put Romo on the field against the Patriots in the first playoff game, and it might be a different game.
That's what we talked about earlier in this show, the day after it happened.
I just think you have to have, look, you can't cut Osweiler. You cannot cut him. So he's going to be on the team. So it's the perfect situation. Let Osweiler watch Romo for a year or two as you get your team better, and then maybe he can come and turn his game around. I don't believe that. I'm just saying that. I don't believe that. But I think that that's the reality. And if I were Houston, that's what I would do. But the hardest thing to do in pro football, the hardest thing to do is evaluate your own team and be honest with yourself.
Sure.
And so are the Texans going to be honest that they need a quarterback? I'm not sure.
Well, the reason why they won't be honest is because they're on the hook for so much money, or they truly do believe. You know, it would be fascinating to me if what you just proffered happens, because looking Romo in the eye is something the Texans didn't do before signing Osweiler with Osweiler.
Correct. And that's the problem, right? So you got to feel comfortable, and you want to build your team around this guy. To me, if I'm Billy O'Brien, I get on that plane, Rick Smith, Bob McNair, we all fly up there, we sit down and we say, hey, here's the kind of team we want to have, and you're the guy that can do it for us. To me, and the thing that makes Romo so attractive for Houston is I know the durability is going to be a question mark, okay? But you have a starting quarterback, or you think you do. I don't think he's a starting quarterback, Osweiler. But you have one, I call him the heist, because I think he really ripped off a lot of money from the tons of heists. But the reality of it is here.
So he's the Maury the Wigman.
Exactly.
Or that would be, hold on a second, it would either be Osweiler's agent or Rick Smith, Maury the Wigman, because he was cultivating that caper.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. Jimmy Sexton could have been more.
Okay.
But anyway, so the reality here is I think he's the perfect fit for him. And, you know, Kansas City's come out and said they're not interested. So I think Kansas City would be a good fit for him.
Well, the thing is, teams aren't interested if they got to trade for him. Okay, because
Correct.
because there's conversations with other teams, and then obviously things can get out. Matters get dicey when you don't land said person with the guy who's still sticking around.
Right.
I mean, you figuratively, if you will, unzip your fly, and then there's all sorts of problems. A lot of teams have said they're not interested. I'm wondering if that tune changes because all you got to do is call up an agent for an unrestricted free agent, as opposed to having to go give up treasure to go and have a conversation about getting somebody. I'm wondering if that changes.
Right, and I think Tony has a list of teams. I'm sure there's only about 3 or 4 teams.
What do you think those teams are?
I would think Houston would be one of them. I would think that any team that has a chance to legitimately compete for a Super Bowl who's a quarterback away. Now, there's a lot of teams that are quarterback away, but like just hypothetically, you know, Kansas City, if they were legitimately interested. Denver, would they be legitimately interested? They're a quarterback away. Maybe it's not Paxton Lynch, it's not Trevor Siemian. Is it going to be Tony Romo? I think it's about the core team around them. I think Tony's list is going to be fairly small.
What about Washington? Do you think that could possibly be on Tony Romo's list?
I cannot imagine that he would want to get into the mess known as in our nation's capital. There's a lot of mess going on in Washington, and I just don't see that. There's a lot of things happening that behind the scenes in Washington I just don't think would be appealing to Tony to think that he could turn this around, you know, and feel like this is going to be perfect.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.